Luzerne County Board of Elections and Registration. Would ask that you all please rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. Prior to proceeding with the roll call this evening, I would like to announce that a quorum of the board did meet in executive session on August 13th from approximately 3:05 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. For the purpose of discussing some ongoing litigation. Present were members Arreguin, Boyle, Cerniak, and Schlosser. There were no deliberations, no decisions made. And so we can begin then tonight with the roll call. Mr. Schlosser. Here. Ms. Cerniak. Here. Ms. Arreguin. Here. Mr. Morelli.
Here.
And Ms. Boyle is present. Do we have a motion for the adoption of tonight's agenda?
So moved.
You have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Objections? The agenda is adopted. All right. We will begin now with the first segment of public comments on tonight's agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters specifically listed on the agenda. Each individual is limited to one comment and a time limit of 3 minutes. And again, it must be pertaining to one of the items on the agenda. Do we have anybody here this evening with us who would like to speak at this time? Do we have anybody participating by Zoom this evening who would like to speak at this time? As a reminder, you must raise your hand in order for me to acknowledge you. Okay, I see no hand being raised at this time. Next we move on to the next item on the agenda, which would be approval of the meeting minutes. So we'll go meeting by meeting. So with respect to the May 6, 2026 regular meetings, do we have a motion to approve? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any objections, abstentions? Those minutes are approved. Next would be the June 2nd, 2026 special meeting minutes. I will go ahead and move to approve those. Is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any objections, abstentions? The June 2nd minutes are approved. Next, do we have a motion on the approval for the July 15th regular meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any objections, abstentions? No. Those minutes are approved. Remaining outstanding then are the May 22, 2026 special meeting minutes, which I anticipate we will have in hand at the next meeting. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, we're going to hear from the Bureau. I'll turn it over to Director Cook.
Thank you. So the only thing that we have on the agenda for this meeting from the Bureau perspective is an update on the certification of the HART equipment, the Vanguard equipment. The certification for Vanguard was issued by the Department of State earlier this month. We began the transition, boxing up the Verity equipment that was used in the primary election, and we're expecting the new Vanguard equipment to be delivered sometime next week. We're expecting to begin training for the Bureau staff in the beginning of September. Training for poll workers will begin the first week of October, We did send out letters to the poll workers last week, and we've already begun seeing training signups as of this morning. I also wanted to take a moment to note that with all of this process, we have been extremely impressed with the entire team at Heart, even with some of the unexpected challenges that came up at the beginning of the year. We were able to ensure a seamless transition and implementation for the primary, and we expect a very same experience for implementation for the fall. The attention to detail and thorough planning that we've encountered going into this transition has left me with nothing but confidence in the way that this implementation is going to be pulled off. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure this will be the case, but if the board wants to sit in on training again this time around.
Yes, we'll send the copy of the schedules to members of the board. If you want to if you would like to just let Deputy Chief Latosky Hahn know what classes you'd like to attend so she can make sure you have a seat.
And then just the only other question is, given that we've got the election, approaching in November, I know you're expressing your confidence in Hart and your team's abilities to work together, but are there any issues that are concerning to you in terms of the timing on the shift to these machines?
I don't have any concerns at this point. We've been meeting pretty regularly since the primary election in anticipation of going through this transition on this timeline. So we have already gone through, as you know, one of my favorite things to do is crisis planning and anticipating how things could go wrong. So we've already met with them numerous times on how we're going to go about the implementation, and any concerns that might have come up have been addressed beyond my simple satisfaction. Like I said, they've really gone above and beyond through this whole process. So I have nothing but confidence in the way that this is going to run. We've actually already started the process of ballot building for the general election. So we'll be beginning proofing imminently.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board or comments?
No. Good to hear.
Okay, so we'll move on then to the next item on the agenda. For those of you that have a copy of agenda, you'll see that we have a number of motions relating to referendum questions that were put forth for inclusion on the November ballot. So first up is the question submitted by the City of Hazleton. Before I move straight to motion, I thought we would address some questions to council. So as the question reads, now my recollection from the last time we discussed this and went through this is that the language is actually is actually specified as to how the question must read. Is that correct?
You're correct. It's section 2925 of the Home Rule Charter and Optional Plans Law. And it appears to me that this question is fine. How it was submitted to us follows the first example. There are a few options. It looks like the Hazleton Commission chose the first. Shall the Home Rule Charter contained in the report dated, and you would insert the date, which they did, of the Government Study Commission prepared in accordance with the Home Rule Charter and Optional Plans Law be adopted by the, and then you insert the name of the municipality, and that's exactly what they did.
Okay, and then I know I looked at the plain English statement and actually compared it against the plain English statement that we approved in last year's election with respect to the Luzerne County charter referendum question. And with the exception of in this statement, it says the present form of government at the very end of the plain English statement. In the question we approved, it said existing form of government. Otherwise, it is basically the same statement. So just pointing that out and wondering if you see any deficiencies.
I don't. When we get to this part, there's much more leeway now. It is up to the board, but if we use something similar in the past, I think this is fine. I think we should use it. And I have no problem with suggesting to you, the board, with sticking with this plain English statement that was presented to us. I mean, I have no personal problem with saying present form of government. I don't recall some of the discussion from last time by, switching present to existing.
I don't think we switched it. I think there was nothing there. And so we put existing
Okay.
so that people knew they were going to be changing the form of government.
Mhm. But it's
Yeah.
pretty self-explanatory. It makes sense to me. I don't think you should be confused reading it.
No, again, and I think I might have mentioned this before. I'm just looking for simplicity. I think the easier for the public to read, to understand, the better, and without complicating. I think we do our job here in explaining the legal terminology, but when it comes down to the vote, it has to be legally correct, it's simple for them to understand, because it's a simple yes or no question, and that's all I'm looking for. I'm fine with this language here.
Okay. Any other comments? Before we do have any motion, I did want to point out that we are aware that all of these questions are required to, after the question, say yes, no. We just don't put them into the agenda because it's a formatting nightmare. But that the Bureau is aware, and that to the extent and building the ballot, that the yes, no boxes would be appropriately placed. So with that being said,
No other questions. I'll make a motion to vote on this the
okay,
way it is.
I'll second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections, extensions? So the motion is passed, and the question and plain English statement are accepted as presented. The next three items for referendum question all relate to the question of whether these townships want to increase the number of township supervisors. So I'm just going to start by saying I did provide some draft language to my colleagues because I think at the end of the day, we want all three of these to be, they won't be identical, they're different townships, but we want them to be consistent. And in my view, each one of these had some deficiencies, either in terms of maybe leading the voters in a certain direction or being a little bit confusing in trying to explain what was happening. So,
Madam Chair, if I might jump in,
Yeah.
yes, I agree they should all be the same. So these are townships governed by, I assume, the second-class township code. It's provided right in the code what this question should be and how it should be framed. So on motion number 2, this is Sugarloaf Township. That's inappropriate. That's just wrong. That should not be used like that. The framing of the question should be, and again, I'll read the language from the second-class township code. It says the form of the question shall be as follows. So that's mandatory. Should 2 additional supervisors be elected to serve in this township? Yes, no.
I was going to say the same thing. And I know
So
Christine, sorry.
on 3 and 4, those municipalities got it right. They accurately
Yeah.
submitted that.
And Christine, you gave one here where you said going from expanded from 3 to 5, but I personally like the
no, I think we should go with
serve with 2 more. I mean, it's straightforward.
Yeah.
And it's required. That's how the question should be now, where you now have more leeway on the plain English statement, that's fine. Now we can go to Christine's suggestion.
Can you just read, sorry, could you read
Sure.
the language? Because I'd like to, I mean, I still think the plain English statement should follow back with this similar language.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Should 2 additional supervisors be elected to serve in this township? And then it's the choice of yes or no.
That's the question.
That's the question, correct?
Yes.
And not only the question itself, but the explanation that was presented for motion 2. I mean, just
Yeah, no. those
very
can't go.
leading, talking about being adequately represented. I mean, that should not, in my opinion, that should not be in there at all.
Okay,
So what's your recommendation on changing that language for that?
so a yes vote means,
I mean, I'm fine with the question, but you're talking about the plain English statement here. Where do we go with that?
I mean, the chair submitted a suggestion.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah.
So that,
well, we
I
could
think
say
it's okay.
a yes vote means you're in favor. Go ahead.
Your language is very plain, in my opinion. It's very cut and dry. Yes. Should it be done, yes or no?
So sorry, for the purpose, so everyone knows what we're talking about, the draft language we're considering at any rate is a yes vote means you're in favor of expanding the number of township supervisors from 3 to 5. A no vote means you're in favor of keeping the number of township supervisors at the current number of 3.
can I just say though, if the question says, should 2 additional supervisors be elected? And I'm being tedious here. Should we be consistent with the language statement by, instead of going from 3 to 5, being consistent with saying expanding to 2 additional supervisors and being consistent with the question? That's all. It's the same thing. I get it, but
Okay, so we could say then a yes vote means you are in favor of expanding the number of township supervisors. I guess it would be by.
by
No,
2 additional.
yeah, it just gets awkward. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but
You know,
I'm
just
trying to
keep
find
it
an easy.
consistent. That's all.
I understand what you're saying. Now, there should be no scenario where you could ever have more than the numbers that the chair put in her suggestion.
Right.
The governing statute, the second class township code provides for a 3-member board of supervisors. At best, it could be expanded to 5. And then down the road, maybe someday reduced to 3. I've
Okay.
never heard of a
Well-
7-member or 9-member board. So
So then to counter what I just said
Mm-hmm.
before, then maybe if we're saying in the question that should 2 additional, you're asking the question for 2, but in the statement, you are then clarifying in there that from going from 3 to 5, and you have that it's the 5. Because some people may not know how many supervisors there are, quite honestly. So maybe that's a safer route. So
Yeah.
maybe you keep.
So I don't
know.
I don't know that we have to do the 3 to 5. We could just say, Rick, like maybe something to the effect of a yes vote means you're in favor of adding 2 additional supervisors. A no vote means you are not in favor of adding 2 additional supervisors. I mean, that's also pretty simple. The 3 to 5 might be instructive to somebody who doesn't know that they have 3, but again, I don't know that we have to assume that the voters don't know how many supervisors they have, so.
Any thoughts down there? Anyone?
Simple, so anybody could understand it.
I mean, I think you can go ahead. So I like just the one. Yes means you're
Yeah.
going from 3 to 5. No means you're not. I like what you wrote this draft 3 to 5. Expand from 3 to 5. Description says.
But I think we're in favor of with the question.
The question's right.
Right, but then I think that
With that,
that statement.
I'm fine with that. If that's, I mean, I don't know, Christine, is there any reason why we shouldn't do that 3 to 5? Legally, that's,
oh, legally, no. I mean, I don't think any way is problematic. this discussion, whether we go with the chair's recommendation or if there were a couple minor tweaks, that's fine. It's, we don't want to make it confusing or complicated, and I
No.
don't think this statement does that.
No.
My main concern was the question itself.
Yeah.
That, that must be corrected. That draft that was submitted
Okay.
by, or whoever submitted up for Sugarloaf Township, definitely was
So
inappropriate.
Christine, what do you think?
All right.
5 or
It really doesn't matter. I mean, it's. I think telling the voters that they're moving from 3 to 5 is maybe a little more helpful than just repeating what the
Yes.
question is.
All right.
But so before I convert it into a motion, just so that we would all be clear, the question would read, and I guess we don't need to reference the township. It'll
Well, are we
just be the
voting on- we have
question.
2 different.
We have to vote on each one.
Yeah,
each
yeah.
one.
Yeah, but no, you even mean in the question. No, I'm
Okay.
verbatim from the
Just read
second
that
class
way.
township code.
Okay.
The form of the question shall be as follows. Should 2 additional supervisors be elected to serve in this township?
Okay. All right, let me take a crack at this, and if I get it wrong, just correct me mid-sentence. So item number 2, motion to cause the adoption or rejection of the following question as submitted by Erica Cook and as amended tonight to be placed on the November 3rd, 2026 general election ballot. A, question, should 2 additional supervisors be elected to serve in this township?
In Sugarloaf Township, because we're voting on this one.
Uh,
Because we're still voting on just item 2.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah,
So it would be in Sugarloaf Township.
Jean said that we know that the question should not doesn't reference the township, right?
Right.
Oh, it shouldn't, it shouldn't.
No, should 2 additional supervisors be elected to serve in this township?
In this township.
That's it.
And again, that's your legal view, and that's how it's been done in the past. Just want to make sure.
Yes.
Then the plain English statement, B, plain English statement, a yes vote means you are in favor of expanding the number of township supervisors from 3 to 5. A no vote means you are in favor of keeping the number of township supervisors at the current number of 3.
Right.
So that's my motion.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections, abstentions? The motion as amended is passed.
And just for clarification, Emily, this is probably for you. Is there some heading or like before this question will appear on the ballot, will it say like Sugarloaf Township referendum or Board of Supervisors reference, something like that?
Yeah, there will be a
Okay.
heading to that
Okay,
contest.
so, I mean, then it's going to be crystal clear. No one should be confused what they're voting on. Obviously the folks in this township are the only ones who are going to get that.
Right.
And of course, and these other 2 municipalities as well. But, if you're from a different borough or township, you're not going to see that question. So it should be fine. Everyone should be crystal clear on what they're voting on.
That's what we want, simple.
Mhm.
Okay, item number 3, motion to cause the adoption or the adoption of the following question as submitted by the Jenkins Township Board of Supervisors and as amended here at this meeting to be placed on the November 3rd, 2026 general election ballot. A, question, should 2 additional supervisors be elected to serve in this township? B, plain English statement. A yes vote means you're in favor of expanding the number of township supervisors from 3 to 5. A no vote means you're in favor of keeping the number of township supervisors at the current number of 3. We have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Abstentions? The motion to adopt as amended is passed. Item number-
And by the way, we can see why what was submitted by the township is, again, I believe inappropriate for that plain English statement. It's leading, talking about in the best interests of the citizens and taxpayers and, enhancing municipal government.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, that should not be
We
in
don't
there.
want to lead anybody.
Okay, item number 4. Motion to cause the adoption of the following question as submitted by Fern Lurd and as amended at this meeting this evening to be placed on the November 3rd, 2026 general election ballot. Question, should 2 additional supervisors be elected to serve in this township? Plain English B, plain English statement. A yes vote means you're in favor of expanding the number of township supervisors from 3 to 5. A no vote means you're in favor of keeping the number of township supervisors at the current number of 3.
So move.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections, abstentions? The motion to adopt the question as amended is passed. Item number 5. We have a referendum from Alicia May Hoffman Mirilovich regarding a referendum question I will just categorize as dealing with insider trading. And before we start, I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments, but I did want to ask council, do you have any preliminary opinions or anything about this before we open discussion?
I really don't. What I seem to find under the Home Rule Charter and Optional Plans Law, unlike for the question submitted by Hazelton, by the city of Hazelton, to establish the form of government, on this issue, if I believe I'm looking at the correct section, it says the question shall be submitted to the voters in the same manner as other questions are submitted under the election code. The county board of elections shall frame the question to be placed on the ballot. That's the end of the section. So it seems to put the onus on us. It's the board's prerogative to frame the question.
So there are a couple of places in here where I have some questions. But as sort of like I guess a predicate question is, so this was the subject of a petition and got the sufficient number of signatures required to be before us and to be placed on the ballot. Based on what you're saying, right, we will frame the question so we can certainly make changes to the thing. But is there a point at which our changes make it so different from what people signed, the petition? Like, at what does there become an issue then with the intentions of the people who put the petition, the petitioner, essentially?
That's not a bad question. I assume what we're looking at on our agenda is what was on, I mean, I see people in the audience. I mean, if anyone wants to, I mean, I know it's not public comment now, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Hi.
you can certainly come up and answer questions.
Okay. So I guess maybe I'll just, instead of talking hypotheticals.
Yeah, I could see your point. I mean, that is a legitimate concern now that we've had thousands, tens of thousands of people sign this based on this question, based on what was typed on page number 1. So, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Okay.
I understand what
So
it
let me throw
says.
something out there.
Mhm.
Okay. And just, again, it is lengthy. And shall the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter be amended to prohibit county officials and employees from using non-public information for stock trades or prediction market bets and to require annual public reporting of related ethics complaints? Say it again. Say it again. Yes, I'm shortening it. Sure. And shall the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter be amended to prohibit county officials and employees from using non-public information for stock trades or prediction market bets and to require annual public reporting of related ethics complaints. I mean, again,
Maybe that's like maybe the plain language statement. Yeah. Sorry, Rick. Next step is just.
One more time?
Can you just go slower for me?
shall the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter be amended to prohibit county officials and employees from using non-public information for stock trades or prediction market bets, and to require annual public reporting of related ethics complaints. I mean,
I like it. So.
I like that because, I mean, I think, first of all, I think I hope, and I won't speak for the petitioner. I think it captures the spirit of what was, hopefully what was intended here. And it takes out some of the, I was looking at that last bit where it seems to span to county, state, and federal elected officials.
well,
It kind of changed the language, so I
takes
sort
out
of
the
like it.
accountability, conduct, and ethics code, which I get, but does it need to be in there? And then to your point, at the end, takes out the county, state, and federal. It shortens it and makes it, I think, a little more crisp. I still think it meets what the voters signed in their petition. Any thoughts, comments?
I kind of like that more for the plain language statement as opposed to the actual question. The question is what was on the petition. And I see there were concerns about that last part about the county, state, and federal elected officials who represent. That is down lower in the section 9.06 as part of annual reporting. But whether or not it needs to be in this question on the ballot is we're discussing. So the very end of the petition, and it refers to Article 9, 9.06 annual reporting. So it does refer to that confusing county, state, federal elected officials who represent citizens of county. But anyway, it does simplify things by omitting that. If you don't mind.
So I would first say, like, we don't want to suggest that employees cannot stock trade at all. And I think like changing the way that it was read might make it believe that they can't stock trade at all. And that is not what the intention of this is. The other thing I will say is this exact question was approved in Lackawanna County word for word from what you see in front of you to be on the ballot in November as well. And I would point out that the second part with including all of the levels of government for reporting is a huge amount of the changes we're proposing in the charter. So removing that from the question might take some of the spirit out of it as well.
I think if you were going to take anything out, it might be the first part that Rick suggested. Like, so you would start with, shall the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter be amended? And then take out the part about the accountability, conduct and ethics code. So just go from there, be amended to prohibit county elected officials and employees, and keep going on from there. I mean, you'll take a few words out, but the rest would remain. Because either way, the question is asking, shall the charter be amended? By having some of the words in that second line, you're saying, you're going one step further by then talking about the code, the accountability, conduct and ethics code. I mean, maybe you can remove that So you would just say, shall the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter be amended to prohibit county elected officials and employees from engaging in, again, keep everything else. I won't read it all.
So I guess
Until
I'm
the
not
end.
understanding why
Mhm.
at the end, when we're talking about the county and we're including in here county, state, federal elected officials representing, what is that? Who is that? That's everybody and anybody from outside the area, you know, who's in, anybody who's an elected official outside who has a vote in some way who could affect Luzerne County? That, I mean, it seems to me pretty broad. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's the problem I'm having with that. It's tying into something deeper. And I'm looking at it from a county perspective and trying to stay within the county borders. And I feel this is going outside the county borders and it's too broad and vague. And that's my problem with that. So I'm looking at this from what's important to the county officials in Luzerne County. I'm not looking to make decisions for county officials who are outside the county. That's my opinion. That's the way I'm reading it.
But they represent the county. Some
Well-
of these state, federal officials represent. the
Anybody
county.
could represent the county in a way, is what I'm trying to say. You could, there's money that we get federal funding, we get state funding. There could be people outside the county who are representatives who represent the county in some ways. And I think we're just going too broad on that. That's the way I look at it. It's my opinion. So my issue is if I think this needs to be focused just on the officials, employees. Again, the way I first read it, it's about the county employees. Then at the end, it says county, then state and federal. I just feel it's too broad. So I'm not going to vote for the way that.
Well, I'm kind of reading this as, okay, that you're preventing them from getting the county elected officials and employees from engaging in the trades. And in addition, they provide annual reporting of ethics complaints and stock trades involving county, state, and federal elected officials representing the county. Somebody would probably have to get the.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm caught with, or unsure of other officials. What does representing the county mean? What does that mean?
Okay, so geez.
Yeah.
Area where does it matter that we don't understand? Is it just matter of
Right.
what the question
And I
is in
wish I
front of
knew,
the
I mean,
board?
I'm trying to understand, and I don't know if that's our job at this point. But if this is approved, now I'm thinking a step down the road. If the yes vote prevails, the first part of it, I understand. That makes sense. And I understand what the charter amendment would do. And then provide annual reporting of ethics complaints. I don't know how we accomplish that. The county government would submit an annual report of any ethics complaints they know of, maybe on the county website. So, okay, I get that. And stock trades. I don't even know how county government would be
It's all publicly available information. It's what they already have to report. And we had attached the proposed amendments to our
Mhm.
petition as well. So they also signed, when they signed the petition, saw all of the changes. And it's just a compiler report.
So when an elected official does a stock trade and they're reporting that on some form based on whatever office they're holding,
Correct. They're
We're
just
doing that
compiling
throughout
all
the
of
county
this.
government is just going to take that information and maybe put it
The ACE
on
Commission
the
is just,
website or
yep,
something like
just gonna
that.
We're doing it
compile it and
throughout
put
the
it on the
country
website.
then. We're taking information throughout the country because I look at any federal official represents the county.
Well, for federal, I mean, it's going to be it's going to be the president and vice president. It's going to be your 2 United States senators. It's going to be however many Congress persons represent the county. I mean, state officials, we know what
So
that means from I assume that's what it means.
Well,
But I don't know if it's here's the problem I'm having. I don't know if it's our job to say whether we like it or not, or can, if the yes vote prevails, how it's to be effectuated. I don't think that's our role.
I'm just concerned with the wording of officials representing the county. I'm looking at it and I'm reading it in a different way where it's much broader. Anybody, if you go state, you could go federal, anybody could be represented. You vote on grants, money, I mean, it comes back, it doesn't have to be in Pennsylvania. And I just think it's too broad.
I think we should either, my opinion would be either use it as is. Now, this is just a question. We didn't get to any plain English statement. Or maybe if you were going to remove anything, just remove a couple of the words on that second line, referencing the accountability conduct and ethics code. And again, I don't even have strong feelings on that one way or the other, but that would take a few words out. But this is the question that was on the petition. It's not the board's job to determine whether we like it or think county government can then effectuate this if this passes. That's like, be a debate for another day and some other political body.
Can you remind me how many signatures?
Over 23,000.
Just for the benefit of the other members of the board who are sitting here and take this with a grain of salt and for what it's worth. But I mean, as we're talking, I do see that this question is identical. Well, it's identical to the one passed in Lackawanna County, with the exception that they have a conflict of interest and code of ethics, whereas here we're talking about the accountability conduct code. And I would just also note that it would appear that the Lackawanna County Board also struggled with the wording, but did approve it as passed.
I guess, could we, I mean, I'm not trying to change what the voters signed, but we're talking the question. We didn't get to the statement.
Right.
So why can't you add this into the statement rather than the question?
Well, I think you can. Maybe you leave the question as is, and now try to better explain, again, your thoughts in the plain English statement. What you feel a yes vote accomplishes or a no vote accomplishes. But Christine, did Lackawanna County do a plain English?
They did. It is not reported on.
Do you have?
They
You
haven't done it yet.
Okay. So they approved
They approved the
the
question.
question, but they haven't worked on the plain English
Correct.
statement?
Director Cook, what is the timing of having the plain English statement ready to go for ballot building?
So the plain English statement doesn't go on the ballot. That goes on the notices, that goes as an informational insert with the ballots when they go out. So you have until after the September meeting to approve that.
What was the date?
You can vote on it at the September meeting for the plain English statement. I wouldn't wait beyond that because we'll be looking at issuing ballots shortly after, I'd anticipate.
I think it's an important vote. I think it needs to be looked at. And I would just, I'm going to make a motion to table it since we have time.
Well,
The plain English statement, you can discuss at the September meeting. I would say if we can discuss the question or plan for a special meeting, if you can't come to an agreement on the question itself tonight, I would not wait until September to approve the question.
Have there been any other counties outside? Sorry. like any other kind of.
And just by delaying on any of these, again, that's fine. That's prerogative of the board. It's, what's today's date? August 19th. We're not, like, nothing needs to be approved tomorrow. We can certainly have
Right.
another meeting, but just be mindful, that's where this would have to be discussed. We can't
Oh, yeah. I mean, we
like
could have a
table this
special meeting
tonight
if
and
that's the case.
then like
Yeah.
have a debate by email and everyone's throwing around their ideas. This
No, no.
must be deliberated out in the
Absolutely.
open. Okay.
Absolutely. No, I'm not saying, I mean, we've always had that discussion. We don't want to have things thrown on an agenda and be forced to have to. And that's part of this process that we have. And I just want to make sure it's right. And so again, are there any other counties out there in the state of Pennsylvania that we know, or any other counties in any other states we know of?
For
For
what?
this question, same question. We referenced Lackawanna County.
Correct.
Any other counties in the state of PA?
Well, there's only 7 counties that have home rule charters, so I don't know those other counties, but I know Lackawanna and Luzerne because this can only be done on a home rule charter
And-
county.
And there are other home rule counties in the country. Do we know of anyone else who?
Well, they wouldn't fall under PA law, so
know,
I wouldn't
but-
know anything about those.
So just for clarity, Emily, before we either make a motion to approve the question as written or a motion to adjourn and consider at a special meeting, are you right now looking for the deadline for when we need something approved for the purposes of the ballot?
The only consideration I would give is we'll need to start issuing ballots to remote overseas voters by the end of August. So we have some time, but not an abundance of time to get the balloting materials for military and overseas voters prepared.
Do any of the other board members want to express an opinion about?
I
Or-
don't see why we can't vote to put this on now, because this petition has gone through, it's all legal, legitimate, the question's gonna go on the ballot. And this, as the question is stated, it's correct from the petition. So, eliminate a few words, but that's basically it, and then we can, decide on the plain language afterwards.
But to that point, as our attorney mentioned earlier, we have the right to modify it, which we have done with the others. And the others had questions on their on the signatures that they had. So, it's our right to look at that, to make sure, that's all. And I get Lackawanna, but I'm not a guy who just follows exactly what they do. And their charter is not the exact same thing as our charter either. And that's I'm concerned with it, and I'd rather look at it, that's all. But if you guys want to vote, I wouldn't vote. I'm not going to vote on the way it is until I have more information, but.
The deadline, again, now if we're just focusing on the question, that deadline would be Tuesday, what is that? The 25th. So it's not that we have a ton of time to ponder this.
And the issue comes in that we're effectively changing a contest. There can still be minor changes with candidates dropping off the ballot at that point. There are the ability for minor changes on the ballot, but changing a contest that late in the game tends to become problematic, which is the only reason that I'm cautioning, because we're then impacting voters who might not be able to get us their ballots back in time. The remote isolated voters are the ones primarily that are serving overseas and don't have great access to returning balloting materials. That's why they have such a long extended time period. And that deadline does fall after the required dates for contests and things to be submitted to the Bureau of Elections.
Okay, any other comments? Al, did you, no? No other comments?
I would still rather you could have a special meeting on Tuesday, the 25th, right?
I mean, I can have drafted ballots to issue for either of the versions of this question that have been, or any of the three versions of this question that have been discussed tonight. And then assuming you go with one of those three options, the question as submitted, the question as proposed by Mr. Morelli, or the question as Attorney Molino proposed, this could be any, I can have the balloting materials prepared, but it would need to be voted on by Tuesday, the 25th, so that I can issue those ballots.
Yeah, and again, let me once again be clear. My concern is where it says the representing the county. And I think that when I read this, it says state, federal, that's very broad. And that means to me, anybody could be representing the county on that. And so how that's going to be. So that's my concern.
Did you have a, Ms. Morelli?
So the final thing that I'll say is like, we provided this question to these voters. And as I said, over 23,000 voters in Luzerne County signed this petition. And if substantive changes are made to the question, it could result in litigation, is what I am told.
Okay, thank you for your participation. I'm going to make a motion, subject to other people making motions and taking votes, and we'll just see where we go from here. But I am going to make a motion for the adoption of the following question as submitted by Alicia May Hoffman Mirilovich to be placed on the November 3rd general election ballot as written, with the one correction that it is prediction market, not predication market.
So now there's a motion. I'm going to make a motion to table.
So procedurally carry through the first motion.
I'll second.
Okay,
So now I make a motion to table.
do we, I don't know, Robert's rules continue with the,
You made the motion. There's a second on yours. You can call for a vote. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, unless there's
I
any
think
more
you're wrong on
discussion.
that. I think I have the right to make the, once there's a
Well,
motion.
well, no,
there's a
I know
vote
you
to
did.
table. But you
But
vote
is,
in on the
but is there a
table.
second on yours?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So
Oh.
you have to go through the procedure. So if there's not a second, you
Okay.
move on. But the table would go before the vote.
Well, is there a second to table it?
So, procedure.
Okay, so that dies.
with no second, we'll proceed with the vote. I'll go by roll call. Mr. Schlosser,
Yes.
Ms. Cerniak,
Yes.
Ms. Boyle will vote yes. Ms. Erickman,
Yes.
Mr. Borelli.
No.
The motion passes. The question is adopted as amended to say prediction instead of predication. However, we now need to move on to the plain English statement.
Now you have some breathing room. That does not have to be done tonight. So
So when does that have to be
that's
done
up to
then?
the board.
Next meeting.
Your regularly
Vice.
scheduled September meeting.
So that meeting, so again, you have a deadline here to get this out by Tuesday to get on there. But then
It's a separate deadline. This is for the military and overseas voters.
Okay.
For the regular voters who, the plain language statement doesn't go on that.
but those
that
overseas
ballot.
voters then don't need to see that plain English statement.
Yes, they do.
I mean, they vote. Should they have the same
They-
right as anybody else?
They should.
Right? Just. I don't think it's fair to those individuals. We got to be consistent to all voters.
Well, we can have a special meeting.
Explanation in the
Well,
back.
that's what I said.
Didn't we ask for a variance the last time we did that? See, I don't have the records in front of me. When we did this for our government study commission, I was here and I think I remember asking for a variance from the Department of State to include this extra material in the mail ballot packets. Because you're generally not, you're supposed to have the ballot in there and that's it, not just all kind of extraneous material. We received permission, if I recall, but that wasn't just an ongoing thing, like you can do this now forever. So I may have to request that of the Department of State
Well,
to include these plain English statements with the mail balloting material.
and so then my other question is just with respect to the plain English statement. Um,
Where is it? You have it?
Is there any reason why it's anything much different than the one we opposed on the Hazelton question, namely that the vote means we're voting to adopt, that we're voting to change the existing form of government?
Oh, it could probably be as framed as easily as that. A yes vote means you are approving an amendment to the charter as stated. A no vote means you're opposed to the amendment or something along those lines. Because the question itself, it explains exactly what the petitioners committee and those who signed it want to have happen.
Right.
And
I don't know that further explanation really matters. It's just,
And I think-
okay, a yes vote does A, a no vote does B.
And with respect to the people who signed this, there's no explanation on that. I get what you say in the sense of what's on the question that's there, but I don't think people who signed the petition fully understand the legal part of it or don't. There's no explanation there either. That's what I'm challenging and I'm questioning, and it's our right to do that. So just because someone signs it with the way it's written, well, that doesn't mean that it's legally correct, in my opinion. So it's our job to research it and make sure it's right and correct. That's part of what we do. So, and again, if we're gonna vote on the question, you have to have, I think you need to vote on the statement as well.
Well, and that's what I'm suggesting, is that the plain English statement can be something to the extent that council just articulated, because it refers back to the question. I mean, to try to explain the question.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Is gonna
necessary
be-
to basically just to repeat the question. I think it could be something as simple as a yes vote means whatever, a yes vote means you agree that the charter should be amended as stated in the question. A no vote means you do not want the charter to be amended, again, or something along those lines. But it's definitely not our role. Certainly individually, you can all feel this way, like Mr. Morelli does, but it's not the collective board's role to determine whether the 20-some thousand people who signed the petition understood it or knew what they were signing. It's just not. That's not
Right.
the prerogative of the board. So
Right. And I'm not saying that, I understand what they read. Doesn't mean that what's put on paper is legally correct or not. That's all. Or what does it mean? So, again, I have questions, and I hate being forced into certain things. I appreciate everybody's work and everything they're doing, but again, we have a role, and I hate to be forcing things. So, and again, when you look at the other referendums, questions were simple, and then the statements were a little bit more elaborate. And again, I recommended shortening the question and then adding that into the statement.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, or, I appreciate what you're saying, Rick. I think one of the differences here is that this came vis-a-vis a petition signed by voters, as opposed to, being presented from township supervisors with very simple question that was actually where the language is mandated about what we can accept in terms of the question.
right.
Now, I don't know, with respect to a plain English statement, if we were to say something to the extent a yes vote means you agree that the charter be amended as stated in
I
the
like the-
ballot question?
I like the terminology that we used for the other things, in favor of. A yes vote means you are in favor of amending the home charter rule as laid out here. A no
Yeah.
vote means you are not in favor, or you are in favor of keeping the home rule charter as currently in place.
You can probably do a lot by looking at, what is this, number one, under board action, the Hazelton motion. So looking at that plain English statement, you can probably use something similar. A yes vote means that you are voting to adopt the proposed, now here's where you have to tweak it, the proposed amendment to the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter. Maybe then you say, which will amend the Accountability, Conduct, and Ethics Code as stated. A no vote means you do not favor an amendment or do not approve the amendment to the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter. And again, I'm not putting words in your mouth.
know,
You
I
figure,
know.
but something along those
I'm hearing what you're
lines.
saying, and I guess in the other referendums, we were more simpler with our question, and we were more detailed with the statement. Here it's the opposite. The question is a lot more detailed, and then the statement is a lot more just general. So, and again, I recommend it putting that wording, state, local, state, and federal, in the statement. But again.
Yeah, I don't love the language, Rick, either, but again, I think, I think we can craft, I mean, you know, the thing with the home rule charter question too, is it refers to a large document. So I'm just trying to figure out if we could say,
You really can't yeah, as part of their submission, the proposed changes were submitted. But I mean,
Oh, no,
that'll
yeah.
even make things more complex.
No,
mean, if
I
we're
don't
going
mean,
through the-
oh, yeah, no, I don't, because
Right.
it's the same way we didn't annex
Right.
you know, we didn't annex the home rule charter study findings either.
Right,
Right. I'm just trying to think of how we could do the plain English language, the plain language statement to. I do think, Roxanne, I like a yes vote means that you're in favor of adopting. Proposed amendment to the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter, which will amend the ACE code. And a no vote means you favor.
Christine, I'm not ignoring you. While you're doing that, I'm going to try to find my request for a variance
Okay.
back from a couple years ago.
Emily, quick question. So when someone does a petition, does the county have the right? I mean, they can put any question they want on a petition, right? They can put any question. When does the county step in to say, I mean, you get a million petitioners. When do we say whether that question is right or wrong?
the role of the election bureau isn't to determine the right
Right,
or
I
wrong of the
understand. What-
question. Our role is to accept that this number of the qualified voters in the county.
But is the county, forget about the election, the county, I mean, who looks at that to say this is even correct or not? So we just put in, we could put in, so again, there could be we could be sued for something that's not even right, or that on the opposite side too.
That's
Right.
not,
I
that's
mean, and that's what I'm
beyond my
questioning, is
pay
anybody just
grade.
putting out petitions for anything and then we just accept it and we put it on there because there's that many signatures? I mean, there's
That's the
no
law.
legal.
We're
But
required to.
again, you got to follow within, we also have laws here that you have to, so.
I mean, Gene, are you aware of any law that we're not upholding by approving a petition?
I think we're compelled to do it. They submitted it, the board, it was timely. The board has to just simply frame the question and put it on the ballot. That's, I mean, as far as I know, no one challenged this, which wouldn't come to us anyway. This is unlike the referendum petition that was circulated about the county ordinance. There was a separate process for that. It built in that level of appeal to the Board of Elections. That doesn't exist here. So we really have no role in it, but it's still my understanding. There's nothing was filed in the Court of Common Pleas. No objection, no petition to set aside the petitions or anything like that. Okay,
So,
so
and this is just a fly, I'm just taking a flyer at this one, but, and it's a sort of an amalgamation of some of the language that we've been discussing. And it would be a yes vote means that you are in favor of adopting the proposed amendment to the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter, which would amend. You'd think I'd know the name of it, the Accountability, Conduct, and Ethics Code, although I don't know we need that part of it. As stated, a no vote means that you are not in favor of adopting the proposed amendment. Yeah, I can't. A yes vote means that you are in favor of adopting the proposed amendment to the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter I'm changing the language again. Hold on. Home Rule Charter. Okay, here's, this is what I'd changing my. A yes vote means that you are in favor of adopting the proposed amendment which would change the Accountability, Conduct, and Ethics Code of the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter no, sorry. I think we don't need to take, I think we're just putting too much stuff in there, I think. A yes vote means that you're in favor of adopting the proposed amendment to the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter as stated. No. Yes, yeah, a yes vote means that you're in favor of adopting the proposed amendment to the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter. I mean, do we need to say anything else? A no vote means a no vote means you are not in favor of adopting the proposed amendment to the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter. I don't, it's about as plain as it gets. Almost certainly not, but yeah. A yes vote means that you are in favor of adopting the proposed amendment to the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter. A no vote means that you are not in favor of adopting the proposed amendment to the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter. I don't know if it's sufficient. Thoughts? I'm just struggling a little with this, with whether we should specifically refer in the plain English statement to the code. Emily, can you read back what I said?
A yes vote means that you are in favor of adopting the proposed amendment to the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter.
Jean, would it be accurate to say to the accountability, conduct, and ethics code contained in the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter?
It's really a separate document, it's not contained in. You might be, well, actually, like
I
both
mean,
things
it
are
seems like
occurring.
it's
Yeah,
Article 9
it
of the
is.
Home Rule
So,
Charter.
so what the, again, petitioners want to do is they want to amend the charter language.
So
It's kind of two steps, which will then amend.
I mean,
the
it's
ethics
Article
code.
9 of the Home Rule Charter. So
Right.
if you amend
Right.
Article 9, you're amending the Home Rule
Yes,
Charter.
yes, you are, yes.
So help, let me, again, as I said it before, my issue was representing the county. Vague. That's my opinion, is vague. So if we're going into now the statement, can we include in the statement something that specifically defines what the state and federal elected officials representing the county and what it means? Which states legislators whose districts include any portion of Luzerne County, Pennsylvania state senators, and members of the United States House of Representatives. So can we then make the statement more specific to what that means? Again, my issue is the way it's written is to representing the county. I think it's vague. I have issues with it. But if you're going to go into the statement, then why can't you define what that is?
I mean, I guess you can. Then you're making it even more complicated.
Well,
You have
I
to make
mean,
sure
the
you
purpose
include
of the
every,
statement is to be specific on what it's about.
you have to make sure you include every, I guess, potential office
Well,
which would
again,
be
as I said
impacted by
before,
this, so.
what representation of the county means Pennsylvania state legislators whose districts include any portion of Luzerne County, Pennsylvania U.S. senators, and members of the United States House of Representatives whose districts include any portion of Luzerne County. Why
Yeah.
can't you then add that to be defining as to who represents Luzerne County? Because it
But
just
we're-
says county.
Did you just make that up or are you reading that
I'm
from
reading it.
somewhere?
You want me to read it?
No, but I'd say you just did that. That wasn't part of the submission, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's,
Well, I didn't.
but I don't know if that's enough. I mean, when you're talking about state officials representing the county,
Well,
so
wait,
that include all the statewide. So you're talking about the governor, bless you, the lieutenant governor, state treasurer, auditor general,
Well,
like,
wait.
you're just going down a rabbit hole
No,
here.
no one submitted a statement, correct?
Right.
So we're putting together the statement.
Mhm.
So I'm asking to put that in the statement to define what it means.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is I think you're leaving out some officials. You're
Well,
talking, I think you said what, state legislators?
and again, I guess
But-
that's where my point is, I think it's vague. What is it? Who represents the county? That's my challenge here.
Hmm.
That's all I'm saying. So I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that. and
Okay.
it's my opinion. So you guys,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Would you like, please just to identify yourself and
Good evening. My name is Tim Ford. I'm an attorney with the law firm Dilworth Paxson, and I represent Alicia's petition effort. And I just want to offer a few comments to help orient your thinking to try to be helpful. With respect to the point about the Accountability, Conduct, and Ethics Code, it was a deliberate decision in the petition to have the Home Rule Charter Amendment direct that separate code prohibit insider trading in order to give county council the discretion to craft language that would comply with the prohibition in the Home Rule Charter on prediction market bets and insider trading. So we did that deliberately to try to give county council discretion to formulate a policy that meets these requirements. As far as so I only offer that just because I don't want to head toward a plain English statement that may be misleading. With respect to changing substance.
so, I'm sorry. So just so that I'm clear then, is anything that we've been talking about in terms of if the plain English statement just referred to that a vote means you're in favor of adopting an amendment to the charter, that's
I think I don't believe we have any problem with that
Okay.
at all because of the language that the board already approved for the language of the question. So we would have no problem with that. If you did want to be more descriptive, it probably would need to be closer to the question and repeat the question. So a yes vote means that you are in favor of amending the Lucerne County Home Rule Charter to require that the Accountability, Conduct, and Ethics Code prohibit insider trading and prediction market bets. We're giving room for county council to decide how they want to do that. So we're not trying to tell everyone how to do their jobs and leave room for policymaking. We do think if there starts being too many tweaks to substance, the appropriate time for substance to be challenged is only after this amendment passes. If the voters choose to adopt it. Otherwise, the analogy is it's like a bill moving through the General Assembly. It's not law until it becomes law. So it's not ripe at that time. And this petition process is also hefty. You need signatures from 10% of all Lucerne County voters who voted in the last gubernatorial election. This petition effort more than cleared that with 23,000 voters. So the time for substance would be later at this point, and now it's just procedural about what needs to be on the ballot for our elections. I'm just trying to offer helpful thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Um,
And then that should alleviate, that was a good explanation, some of Mr. Morelli's concerns. So then that's where the discussion or argument, if you will, could take place about, you know, what do you mean by state officials representing Luzerne County? You know, something like that. If this passed, if the yes vote prevailed in the election, then that could be debated by county council. How would they amend the accountability, conduct, and ethics code basically to reflect the wishes of the voters on the referendum?
Yeah, but our job is to make sure that the voters understand what they're voting on.
well, and
So, and
I agree, Rick, and I agree that the frustration is that the, you know, I'm not crazy about the language, but, you know, I don't know that we could make it any more simple than with respect to the plain English statement than what we talked about. But we are well outside the bounds of our normal Robert Rules of Order, but I will acknowledge the gentleman at the podium. If you would just please identify yourself and tell us where you're from.
Thank you. My name is John Fry. I'm a resident of Plymouth, and I'm the farthest thing from a Philadelphia lawyer you'll ever come across. And I thank you, because I realize this is way out of order. But I just can't sit here and listen to this anymore. I didn't come prepared to talk about this, but I signed that petition. And I have to say, I signed it under false pretenses. I was approached, I was in a hurry to get in here to another meeting. And it was presented to me as a petition that would prohibit county employees from engaging in stock trading. There was nothing told to me about federal, state officials. So to me, that's it. I should have read it. Admittedly, I should have read it. I was in a hurry, and it was presented to me in one way, which was false. And now we're faced with this situation. It occurs to me that this is a blatant attempt to get at a particular elected representative who is now in a contentious election. And there has been a great deal of media coverage with regard to his involvement in stock trading. I mean, this to me is like getting hit in the head with a sledgehammer. The objective of this, I, for one, signed that. Now, there might have been 19,000 others, but I know that I signed it, and I regret signing it. Maybe those 19 others knew what the heck was going on with this. I didn't. But now it has become pretty obvious to me, because that last line there is the one, to my way of thinking, they should be eliminated. They're after the federal, state, and federal officials. And in my opinion, that's what it comes down to. They're after them. There's an election at stake. There's an election that certain groups feel they have to win. And here's a stone that they didn't want to leave unturned. Now, I thank you for your indulgence. I thank you for your patience, for putting up with me, but I couldn't sit there any longer and listen to this. The gentleman over there is hitting a nail right on the head. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're at a place where we just need to move ahead. Again, Rick, I appreciate your comments. I shared, honestly, some of the same thoughts in terms of some of the language in the referendum, but obviously proceeded with the motion because I feel like that's what we are obligated to do. And I understand that not everybody would agree. As respects the plain English statement, I tend to agree that trying to use that to explain and or correct what we might view as shortcomings in the language of the referendum itself is not not only not effective, but not appropriate. And,
Again,
yep, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, we have an obligation here. You know, we're not a puppet board, and we're just not here to say yes and vote and put it on. There's questions. We have the right to ask questions. You know, if something comes up that just doesn't sound good, again, my question is representation. What does it mean? Who's it representing? It's vague. You know, the attorney was here, he got up, he didn't answer my question. What does it represent? You know, I'm doing some homework here. It's vague. And you know, and I could go even further into it, but again, I want to stay within our boundaries of what our job is. Our job is, and it's stated here at the beginning of the meeting, is to be able to put on the ballot. It's our job to write what's on the ballot, not just what somebody signs or puts on a petition. So I know there's other ways for people to challenge things and to do things, but we also have our job. We have our job. And so again, and all I'm saying was I'm not comfortable with it, and I'd rather do more homework on it, and I do whatever I can to move it to a time where we could do more homework, get other opinions and things of that nature. So that's how I'm approaching it. I'm not trying to say yes or no, but again, I've done this many times before. If I'm not comfortable on something, I'm not voting on it. So just my thought. So you guys do what you want. It's, you know, we're all on record, and respect what everyone does. It's nothing personal. Just that's what we do. So.
Any thoughts or comments?
Well, it kind of sounds like putting more definition in the plain language statement is actually going to encroach on something that council should be doing. Passes. Now, it's a legal petition, you have to put it on the ballot, all the legal requirements were fulfilled. We've already voted that we're going to put it on, we voted the language, the question is, so it's just a matter of this plain language statement, and yeah, I don't think we can really get too specific on it without misleading people or encroaching on you know, future council actions.
Well, does anybody want to make a motion to either adopt the language that we have stated, which I read to Ms. Cook, or alternatively a motion to adjourn to a special meeting that has to occur in the next couple of days?
I move to approve the special language statement.
We have a second? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Schlosser?
Yes.
Ms. Cerniak?
Yes.
Ms. Arreguin?
Yes.
Mr. Morelli?
Nope.
And Ms. Boyle will vote yes.
Just Madam Chair, before we get to public comment now, the next thing the board should decide.
We do have one more agenda item, but we can
Oh,
finish.
that's right,
Let's
the
finish
Dropbox.
this if we're,
It kind of goes along the lines with this, with
Okay.
these questions. Does the board want to include these explanations with the balloting materials? You know, it's my understanding by law, we're not required to. This is involved in the public notices, the postings at the polling locations, but there was no requirement for the balloting materials. In 2024, I found the emails. It was February of 2024. A variance was requested of the Department of State and ultimately approved. But and there were some other variances like we requested over the years, which have nothing to do with this, but we're not obligated to. And I don't recall last year for the question, the formation of of a new charter, the adoption of a new charter. I did not request a variance, and I don't recall. I don't believe we included any plain English statement with the mail balloting materials.
I did also look back in my emails, and we did not request a variance for the 2025 question. So we did not send the additional materials. So I apologize.
So should we?
That's up to the board.
I think we should.
I agree.
No.
I think we should.
and I guess my only word of caution, and I don't know who handles this for us in Luzerne County. But the question you just talked about for a while now, this goes to, this is countywide, but then you have the ones that are unique to Hazelton City and those other townships. And that has, I mean, I assume the vendor has a way of sorting that out.
Yes, we'd be
Okay.
able to associate that to those specific voters, just as we do for their specific ballots.
I mean, is that something on which we have to vote? I mean, I would say, as Mr. Morelli pointed out earlier, that we should, all voters should get the same information if
I
we
think you
can.
just sort of tell me as a group. I mean, I know it's not on the agenda, but just say that this is what you want. You're directing me
I'm
to
in
do
favor of
that.
it.
Yeah.
You guys do
I'm in
so.
favor of it.
I will, we'll submit it via email. That's all we did last time. I mean, it was nothing extravagant. It looks like back in 2024, the turnaround time, let me see, it might have been submitted on February 3rd or 4th. And then maybe the 11th. Oh, the 14th. So 10 days later. Yes, February 14th, we received approval from the Department of State. So that's fine for all of our regular balloting materials. I mean, a 10-day turnaround is no problem. But that is going to be a problem for maybe speed it up. Okay, because that might have been a problem for the military and overseas.
As many voters as we can get.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I'll make sure that it is posted to the website prior to that deadline as well, so that information is also publicly available.
Okay.
To any of those voters.
Right. Moving on then to item number 5 on the agenda, which is the board's ballot Dropbox review committee report on the findings regarding the May 2026 general primary election. The committee consists of board member Cerniak and myself. We met on May 11th and reviewed security images from the Penn Place ballot box beginning with the date of April 29th through May 8th, which means we reviewed all of the images available for all of those days. We found 10 instances in which individuals placed 2 ballots into the box. In addition, we found 2 instances in which individuals placed 3 ballots into the box. In all cases, based on the images we were able to review, it appeared that the individuals had the same surname and or resided at or that the ballots were for the same address. That was in almost all cases. Those ballots were segregated by the Bureau, and we provided the listing of all of those instances with specific identification to the security images, to the Bureau, who in turn referred them to the district attorney's office. When after election day, we were going through the adjudication process, those ballots, there had been no action taken by the district attorney's office, and those ballots were treated in the normal course of the adjudication process, meaning generally, if there was no other issue with the ballot, it was processed accordingly. If there was, it would have been rejected. Following the election on June 2nd, we met again and reviewed footage of the Bureau's, the Dropbox outside the Bureau office for the dates of May 4th through May 8th, as well as from May 14th through May 18th. We also reviewed all footage for the Hazelton Dropbox location with dates commencing May 6th through May 18th. For those security reviews, we found no instances of a person dropping more than a single ballot. So that is the conclusion of our report. I don't know if anybody has any questions up board members have any questions, comments? Okay. We'll now move on then to the public comment on non-agenda items. Again, this is your opportunity to address the board on matters not listed on the agenda, but are still within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Each person is limited to one comment time per person and would be limited to a 3-minute time period. Is there anyone here with us this evening in the room who would like to speak at this time? Please approach, sir. And I know you've already identified yourself once. If you would just re-identify, please.
Still the same fellow,
Thank you.
John Fry from Plymouth. When I received my application for a mail-in ballot, I found 2 applications in the envelope. One application was in English, the other in Spanish. This seemed odd to me. Why would I or anyone else receive an application for a ballot to vote in a foreign language? Don't you have to be a citizen to vote? And don't you have to speak and understand English to become a citizen? If the answer to these questions is yes, then why would someone that can't understand English and therefore can't be a citizen be given the opportunity to obtain a ballot and with it, the opportunity to illegally vote? The application in a foreign language and the bilingual ballot are not only a waste of taxpayer money, but worse, they may enable and encourage someone to do something that is illegal. These are factors that cause voters to question the outcome of an election and the validity of the entire electoral process itself. Another issue that the extra application brought to my mind was, why only Spanish? Aren't there people in our county that speak languages other than Spanish? Walk into a hospital or government office and you'll see a list of languages a mile long posted on the wall. Why favor one group over all others? If you're going to bend the system to pander to one group, why not pander to all groups? After all, isn't favoring one group over all others discriminatory?
Thank you. Anybody else in the room, sir?
Hi, my name is Colin Doherty. I'm a resident of Kingston. I just wanted to say thank you all so much for your work, especially with the drop boxes. We really appreciate it. I know that the county council is currently considering adding more drop boxes, and I would just really encourage this board to also add more drop boxes. I think that it would help more voters have access to be able to return their ballots. I think that we've all met people who might live in different corners of this county, and it's a big county, and I think it's hard for a lot of folks to go just to Wilkes-Barre or just to Hazleton. I think if we have more drop boxes in more population centers and we're able to better service and provide those services to voters, we would have higher turnout and be more likely to get voters' votes in so they can be counted. So thank you so much for your work.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room this evening? No. Okay, is there anybody attending by Zoom today who would like to speak? If you would please raise your hand, which Harry will correct me, but I believe it is *9. I see nobody has raised their hand. Accordingly, there being no other items on the agenda, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Could I just, can I make one comment, please, if I may?
Sure.
Have it. So, again, it was a good debate, and I hope people understand our role and what we are supposed to do, not stay without and not go outside of our boundaries. But again, I want to state on this, again, I hate coming in and being part of a board and just being, not to say we are, but just being puppets and say we have to do. We get challenged on legal stuff every single month, and that's just the way it is when it comes to elections. But we do have a job to do. There's questions that we have to ask, and again, when something comes before us and we're not sure, that's when we have to say time out. We have to do our homework to make sure it's correct. I mean, you heard this gentleman come up here. He didn't come up here for this. And I'm sure there are people out there. So when someone comes up and says that, we need to listen. You know, I've signed petitions. I've seen people come up to me at Wise Market and ask me to sign this. And and many others. You don't know what they are. There's so many petitions out there. So I'm not going outside our rules of what our role is, but we have to pay attention to what we do. We just don't put anything on a ballot. I disagree with that. Just because there's a petition, I don't think we just put it on there. And that's where we have to do it. So anyway, I'm with all due respect, I would like to get a legal, I'd ask you as well as to look into it more and to get a legal opinion here addressing this county's, the authority of this and then the scope of this proposal and if there's anything out there. You know, yes, someone could sue us, but we could get sued on both sides and we have to protect ourselves. And so even though we voted on it, I'm still asking us to do homework. It doesn't mean it's final. So I would ask that I'm still not comfortable with that, what it represents, and it goes outside. It hasn't been answered. And I even think there's some other questions too about what was put on this petition as to what it really means and how far it goes. But again, I'm going to hold off there because of what our role is. But I'm going to ask our legal counsel and to do this soon, if you can, all right, to come back to us by Tuesday, if you can, with a legal opinion on this and to see. It's because, again, I asked for, to table it to get a special meeting. I thought that would have been better. Other members decide to vote, that's fine. But we still have time to work on this and to do homework. And if there is need be, we could do something. We could have a meeting. And even if it's everybody online too, to do the meeting, a public meeting. So I just want to ask if we could do that. Okay. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any objections, abstentions? The meeting is adjourned.